The brig Resolute came to a halt so abruptly that the sailors didn't at first comprehend what had happened. The wind, which only moments before filled the sails with steady force, vanished without warning, as though it had been extinguished. The canvas sagged, the rigging fell silent, and the ship stood motionless upon an unnaturally still sea. The silence felt more ominous than any storm. No whistle of air, no murmur of waves, only the faint creak of timber. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, each sensing that something inexplicable had occurred. Captain Henri Renaud was the first to react. Raising his spyglass, he studied the horizon. His expression remained composed, yet his gaze grew intent. "Land ahead," he said at last. A dark line indeed marked the distant edge of the world. Gradually it took shape, an island rising from the haze, its cliffs steep and severe. Navigator Lefebvre immediately unfolded the charts. The coordinates were verified again and again. No map recorded land at that position. Engineer Morel frowned. Either our instruments are mistaken, or we are witnessing the impossible. Renaud lowered the spyglass. "We shall eliminate the first possibility. Prepare the launch." The approach to the shore was conducted in tense silence. The water lay flat, lifeless, as though the sea itself resisted disturbance. The boat advanced without resistance. When the hull touched sand, the sound was dull and strangely muted. Morel stepped ashore first and froze. The sand shimmered faintly beneath his boots. He took another step, then looked down. No footprint remained. The sand yielded, yet instantly smoothed itself. "This is no natural phenomenon," he muttered. Renaud nodded curtly. "We proceed inland." The jungle began scarcely beyond the beach. The air grew heavy and wet, the vegetation thick and oppressive. Shadows seemed darker than they should have been. Progress required constant effort. Branches were cut aside, roots crossed. Yet the strangeness of the island soon became undeniable. Some trees leaned at unnatural angles. Stones lay arranged in near-perfect lines. Lefebvre paused. "Everything here appears arranged." Morel lifted his head. "Listen." From somewhere deep within the island came a faint sound, rhythmic, precise, entirely mechanical. Tick, tick, tick. The sailors exchanged uneasy glances. "That is not an animal." They soon discovered the source. A stone staircase rose from the jungle floor, perfectly shaped, untouched by time. Renaud ascended cautiously. The staircase ended abruptly, vanishing into empty air. "Who builds such a thing?" Lefebvre whispered. The answer came later, when the jungle gave way without transition. Before them opened a vast circular depression. At its center stood a colossal machine. Rings rotated silently. Gears turned with impossible precision. The entire structure moved without sound. Morel's face drained of color. Impossible. As night fell, the metal floor ignited with thin lines of light. The machine accelerated. The ground trembled violently. And then it happened. The stars began to move. Not slowly, but with terrifying speed, streaking across the sky in wild, unnatural arcs. The heavens themselves seemed torn from their order. Lefebvre cried out. The sailors stumbled backward. Renaud tried to command retreat, but a blinding flash swallowed everything. When Morel opened his eyes, he lay upon the cold metallic floor. The jungle had vanished. Around the platform stretched a barren plain of black stone. "We did not discover an island," the captain said quietly. "We discovered a device." Captain Renaud was the first to regain his footing, though a faint dizziness lingered. The machine continued its precise rotation, yet the surrounding landscape had changed completely. In place of the jungle stretched a vast, level plain of black stone. "Lefebvre, our position," the captain ordered. The navigator checked his instruments, then glanced at the sky and froze. "Captain, the stars are wrong." Renaud looked up. The constellations were indeed distorted. Some were missing, others unfamiliar. Engineer Morel wiped his face uneasily. "We could not have drifted so far. It's impossible." We did not drift, Renaud replied curtly. The space around us has changed. The machine suddenly increased its speed. Thin lines of light raced across the platform. The metal beneath their boots began to vibrate. Careful, Morel shouted. The air grew heavy, charged like the moment before a storm. Lefebvre pressed his temples. I hear a ticking. The sound emerged from all directions, steady, mechanical, relentless. At that instant, the black stone ahead split along a straight fracture. From the opening rose a tower, smooth and dark, without a visible seam. Morel stepped back. The same tower. Renaud observed it closely. Then we are inside the system of this device. At the tower's base, the surface shifted and reshaped, forming a doorway. A trap? Lefebvre asked. A passage, Renaud answered. He stepped forward. The others followed reluctantly. The doorway opened, revealing a narrow corridor from which the ticking echoed clearly. The expedition hesitated only briefly. Then Captain Renaud crossed the threshold. None of them yet understood that returning to their former world might prove impossible. Renaud was the first to break the silence. His voice was steady, yet beneath that steadiness lay the tension of a man who had already made a decision. If this mechanism regulates time, he said, it must have a point of control. Morel answered with a silent gesture toward the center of the chamber. A sphere suspended above the platform glowed from within, softly yet uneasily, as if it contained not energy, but the governing principle of the entire device. They moved closer. With every step, the ticking grew sharper. It was no longer merely a sound, but a rhythm that seemed to permeate the air itself, echoing in their chests and temples. Lefebvre stopped. Captain, what if we activate it again? Renaud did not turn. We are already within its operation. The sphere flared before any hand could touch it. Light swept across the chamber. The rings accelerated. Thin lines of brilliance raced along the floor, forming patterns of striking geometric precision. A voice followed at once. Interference detected. Morel stiffened. We have done nothing. Presence constitutes interference. The floor shuddered. A deep resonance rolled through the structure. The machine's rotation increased to a dangerous velocity. Destabilization, Morel breathed, scanning the motion of the rings. The sequence is breaking. The sphere pulsed violently. Images surged across its surface. Oceans, continents, shifting skies. Time no longer appeared as a flow, but as fragments flashing and vanishing with terrifying speed. Lefebvre recoiled. We are seeing everything at once. And then Morel understood. This is not a display, he said hoarsely. It is a correction. Renaud turned sharply. Can it be stopped? The engineer hesitated only a moment. Only by destroying the core. Renaud drew his revolver. Captain, Lefebvre cried. If this device rewrites time, Renaud replied calmly, we may already have been erased. The ticking rose to a frantic intensity. Light flooded the chamber. The shot rang out, heavy and final. The sphere erupted in a blinding burst. The rings convulsed. For an instant, the entire structure seemed to lose coherence, as though reality itself had faltered. Then everything vanished. Morel regained consciousness upon a shore of warm sand. Waves rolled gently. The brig Resolute stood behind them, sails once more filled with wind. Lefebvre slowly pushed himself upright, staring in disbelief. Renaud rose last. The island was gone. Only open ocean remained. Did we destroy it? Morel asked quietly. Renaud watched the horizon for a long moment. No, he said at last. Mechanisms of that nature are not destroyed. Then what happened? Renaud answered after a pause. We were permitted to leave. Far beyond any charted route, the mechanism continued its silent rotation. Its rhythm remained unchanged. Tick, tick, tick. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, be sure to subscribe for more strange tales.